Hey guys, got here today. I want to talk about Survive with Friends a little bit. And this is as a result of me finishing all of my achievements in Dead by Daylight. I just finally finished yesterday. And in order to finish some of the more tedious Survivor ones, like, escape RPD 20 times, opening the gate, I had partnered up with Kale, Oink, and Scrump. And I played in Survive with Friends for quite a while. If you watch me, you'll know I usually play solo queue and pretty much exclusively play solo queue unless I'm playing with like Zubat or someone. But yeah, so comparing escape rates. For the past like 2 weeks before I did this, I would escape. This is not super scientific or accurate, but it was about 3 out of 10 games I would escape. So a 30% escape rate. While I was playing with these guys, my escape rate was over 9 out of 10 games. So pretty much playing in a Survive with Friends made my escape rate go up by 300%, which is absolutely insane. So it might make you draw the conclusion, well, damn, Survive with Friends must be OP, right? And let's talk about what people actually complain about when we talk about Survive with Friends. The thing that people complain about is the communication. It's the calling out of stuff. It's the free perks you get. And admittedly so, that is a massive advantage. You get perks like Kindred. You can avoid eruption. You can call out for body blocks. The communication aspect does make Survive with Friends very strong. And I don't think anyone is ever going to really deny that. And so that's the main thing. Hell, that's really the only thing people complain about. It's that communication. And the fact that, I escape 3 times as much as I usually do should sort of indicate that. The thing is, though, we weren't on comms. I just invited them to my lobby and kept streaming, and we just kept playing like as normal. And my escape rate was that high. Now, to be fair, I was playing a bit more selfishly in this, so you can have an escape of like ±1, probably like, as a bit of a margin for error. Because I was trying to escape a bit more in solo queue, I might go for more risky end game plays. But here I needed to get my adept achievements. I needed to get, escapes with 0 perks and things like that. So whereas normally I would go for a save, maybe I would just leave instead. So I'm sure that affected the values a bit. But, let's even say I escaped twice as much. The thing is, I didn't do it because we were communicating. Communication is not the main reason that it was such a higher escape rate. And this brings me to the whole main point that I'm trying to make here is that comms are strong, but to me, comms act as a force multiplier for what you're already going against. If you're going against 4 average players or 4 bad players, them talking to each other, I don't care. You're still going to die. You can call out, I'm about to die, but you're still about to go down. So it's not that big of a deal for me. However, if you get 4 very good players using it, it becomes infinitely harder to actually win. But the thing is, to me, it's not actually the communication aspect of it that makes it strong. To me, the scariest thing to go against as killer is not a 4-man Survive with Friends on comms. It's for any players. They can be solo queue, but they're just all good players. It sounds like such a forehead obvious statement, but really the scariest thing to go against in DBD as killer is just 4 good players. Because my entire playstyle and the playstyle of anyone that's solid at killer revolves around finding weak links. If there are no weak links on the team, it is a struggle. Unless you're playing a top tier killer or using a super strong build, it is really, really hard to win if there are no weak links. Luckily, it is very rare to have no weak links on the other team. It is very, very rare. In the past 6 years of me playing, I'd say on average, it's like 1 out of 50 games. I get 4 players that are just genuinely equally as good. No matter how much I try to poke and prod and chase separate people, I cannot find a weak link there. It does happen, and those games are much more memorable because you just probably get destroyed if you're not ready for it or if you make any mistakes. You can still win, but it is very, very hard to do so. And so those are the games that you remember a lot. But it's not the communication aspect that worries me because every time I say something like that, there's always the whole thing, well, I encounter like 4 super strong teams all the time. And I think it's really just a difference of perspective there. We're going against the same players. I'm not on some magical server or anything like that. We are going against the same players. But people that have that mindset that they're always going against, the top tier 4-man comp squads and stuff like that, and believe me, this is a very common sentiment, they typically have the mindset that you have to, in order to win these matches, you have to just tunnel someone out like immediately. And that's the only way you're going to do that. But it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy there because if we go against the same players, but I try to spread pressure and you just tunnel one guy out, I have 4 times as many chances to find a weak link. If you tunnel someone at the start of the match and you accidentally find, a good player, 100% of the players in that match effectively are now good players because you haven't spread pressure to anyone. You're just chasing the same person who might be very good. So you're taking a huge gamble that they are not good. However, if you try to spread pressure and, chase everybody at least once, you can pretty quickly determine if there are any weak links on the team, and there almost always is. Then you base the entire game around that weak link. I'm not even saying tunnel the weak link out because it's easy. If anything, you use the weak link as bait. You chase the weak link in an area and they use a lot of pallets, and now it's a dead zone. You hook them in that dead zone. And now it doesn't matter if Jesus Christ himself comes to save that person. If they're the best survivor in the world, if there's nothing to work with and there's no resources, they're still going to get hit and go down. And that is the whole basis of being able to win, at least personally. It's the whole basis of me being able to win most of my matches while not camping or tunneling or anything like that. It's because I'm not doing it because it's super benevolent. It's a nice plus or anything, but by spreading pressure, it allows me to see every survivor, and it allows me to find the weaker survivors in the match. And that is the whole basis of my gameplay. Again, I'm not tunneling the weaker survivors or anything. I'm just using them as bait. And the whole point of being a good killer is trying to find ways to remove the skill component from the good survivors. Because if you've ever done a 1v1 on Cowshed or something like that, a good survivor with every resource in the map, it could take the best killers in the world. Why do I point at myself when I say that? I'm not. But it can take the best killers in the world, 3 to 4 minutes to down a good survivor. That's like an entire game's worth of time, which is why that's not how the game actually works. They're not 1v1s. You don't have access to the whole map. The whole point of being a good killer is making it so that you try to siphon these good players into dead zones created by the not so good players. And I'm not even saying they need to be bad players. There can be players that are just, not quite as good. Homie Scrum taking the bullet for me. They're not, they could just be not quite as good. I'm not even saying you have to find a rank 20 meghead who just sprint into a wall and die. And look, I found the weak survivor. You just need to find someone that's not quite as good. And that's it. That's the whole, basis of at least how I play the game. But it circles back to the thing that made me escape so many things here is because I was just playing with 3 other players that were good at the game. We're not, top tier comp survivors or anything like that. We're just all above average. And sometimes that's all it takes. If there are no weak links like that, it can be way, way scarier. I would much rather go against a 4-man Survive with Friends of just your average matchmaking skill level, and they're on comms, they're doing clock callouts and all that. I would much rather take that over a single solo queue team that happens to just be all good players. That shit is hard. I struggle winning that stuff. But a 4-man comp squad that's just, your average, or a 4-man regular squad that's just your average skill level, it doesn't matter if they can call out they're about to go down. They're still going to go down. Just being able to talk to each other doesn't suddenly make you good at the game. It's a multiplier for how good you can be. Now, if you do get 4 good players and they're on comms, yeah, that's okay. Now you're playing a comp match. Good luck. You better be playing Nurse or Blighter Spirit or something, because otherwise you're going to be in trouble. But like I said, that's super rare. That's the absolute minority of your matches. If you think that's not the case, it's probably because A, you have not dedicated your time to trying to learn how to identify skill, because that is a hard thing to learn. Being able to identify survivor skill on the fly in 20 seconds, it's kind of hard. I'm not going to pretend that's easy, but it's a worthwhile skill to have because all the best killer players can do that very quickly. They can identify who the weak links are. And if you think every single survivor that you're going against is a top tier player, it's more likely you're just not quite as good at identifying weak links. And I would recommend trying to brush up on that because it's a really good skill to have. Again, there are times where you do get 4 very good survivors. I've been there. It does suck. I'm just saying the majority of your matches are not going to be that. So try to find the weak link. And that is going to be, the much safer option. So overall, communications do make strong teams stronger, but they don't make your average, team that much stronger. It's really just having 4 good players on the other team. That's the scariest thing. But luckily, it's not super common. So how do you fix that? I don't know. You can't really fix that. It's just if you just get unlucky and you get 4 good players, you're in for a really, really tough time. And no amount of, communications or Survive with Friend changes or nerfs or buffs or anything will ever change the fact that you could still get 4 good players in a solo queue match, and that can be rough. That's it. So I just thought it was an interesting bit of information that I won so many more games just simply playing with good players without communications, because that's the most important part. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I finally got all achievements, which is nice. I don't know what to do now. Shit.